Welcome to the Real Estate Guys radio program. I'm your host, Robert Helms. We've been talking about hospitality and where opportunity might be today. In our second spotlight on hospitality, we'll talk about some profitable niches you might not have considered, and we'll see how creativity can be rewarded. And we've got a great guest today on the Real Estate Guys radio program.
Real Estate Guys listeners, are you tired of losing real estate deals due to financing issues? Have you had enough of waiting on banks, lenders, and investor groups to fund new projects? What if there were a way to eliminate all the hassle and invest in real estate on your own terms? I'm here to tell you there is. Patrick Donahoe here from Paradigm Life. I'm an Investopedia Top 100 Most Influential Financial Advisor, and I recently wrote a best-selling book about the financial strategy that changed my entire investment model, and the one that could change yours. To get a copy of my book for free and learn how you can maximize your real estate portfolio by acting as your own bank, send an email to mybank@realestateguysradio.com. Don't make another real estate deal without reading my book first. Email mybank@realestateguysradio.com now to get your copy for free.
Welcome to the Real Estate Guys radio program. I'm your host, Robert Helms. Joining me, as usual, in the co-host seat, it's Russell Gray.
Hey, Robert.
We always love talking real estate, and we are in the middle of a three-part series. This is smack dab in the middle, part two, on hospitality and the hospitality industry. You know, at first blush, people thought, well, with COVID, nobody's going out, nobody's staying anywhere. Hotels are all going to completely fall into the ground unused. And in fact, that's not the truth at all. As we've been talking about, there are kind of two main areas of hospitality. There's business travel, conventions and those things, and that has absolutely been hit by the change in people's habits. But there's also leisure travel, which surprisingly is picking up. We talked last week with Tim Hubbard about the Airbnb and overnight rental market. That was pretty good stuff. If you didn't hear it, go back and hear that show. And today we're going to talk about kind of a cool niche that also seems to be benefiting post-COVID.
Yeah, you know, this really came out of a interview that we did with Danielle DiMartino Booth, who's one of those big macro thinkers, and she spends a lot of time reading the tea leaves and talking to smart people. And boy, if you follow her, she just is everywhere. So everybody wants to hear what Danielle has to say. So it's kind of like when Danielle speaks, people listen. So she mentioned that to us. She goes, hey, there's this big bifurcation in hospitality. Business is dead because of COVID-19, but hospitality is like its own animal. And we thought, you know what? We know a little bit about this space. We like this space. And the big thing is when we did the COVID-19 investing series way back at the beginning of 2020, when the whole thing was breaking, you know, nobody knew exactly what it was going to look like or how things were going to shake out. We just knew the world was going to change in a big way, maybe temporarily, maybe permanently, or maybe both. And I think that's probably what's happened. Office is seeing some kind of permanent change, but you never know when pressure is applied to an economic system. Kind of, it's that squish factor we talk about. You squeeze like squeezing a water balloon, and you never know. It's going to come out somewhere. And so opportunity has kind of popped out. And it popped out in hospitality. So we thought, you know what, let's do a deep dive on this and let's get some of our expert friends involved to help us understand where the opportunity within the opportunity is. Because, you know, if you look at the headlines, it's not great for all hospitality. And so there's really some niches that are doing a little bit better than others. But that's why you got to do a little bit of a deeper dive.
I think you just pretty much described every real estate vertical there is, that some are doing well and some are not. You can't say all office is rocking, and you also can't say all office is terrible. Same with industrial, same with residential. This is the whole part about real estate being local. All real estate transacts locally. So it may be interesting to see the national housing numbers or the national number of new apartment construction permits, but it doesn't mean that much because it is very segmented by market. And thinking about travel, if you will, today especially, we're going to talk about this niche within a niche, maybe even within a niche, because there are people who are already traveling, A lot of them. I see them on airplanes all the time, and travel isn't as much fun as it once was, but they're traveling. And I would say, just anecdotally, from being now on more than 24 flights, that it's mostly leisure travelers. It's not as many business travelers. Now, the metrics all say that, but just flying around to the places I have, that's certainly what I've witnessed. But there's still a huge group of folks who are unwilling or unable to travel yet, but that represents pent-up demand. We're going to talk, before we're done, about a particular travel niche, and that is weddings and family events, family reunions, and all those types of things where people want to get together. They need to get together. They haven't been able to. How many situations did we have during the first year of the COVID lockdown where people had to cancel their weddings? Doesn't mean they're canceling getting married. It means they put them off and they pushed it out further, hoping that travel bans would be different and a vaccine would come out and so on and so forth. So that's a trend that we're seeing exploding. If you talk to wedding planners today, they have a serious issue. They don't have as much quote unquote inventory as they once had because there are still wedding venues that haven't reopened because of their geography and other factors. And at the same time, there's this pent up demand, and it is a real issue.
You know, it's really interesting you say that. First of all, I have a personal experience. My brother-in-law is getting married, and he's postponed his wedding, I think 2 or 3 times now. He lives in the People's Republic of California, and so they've been in a little bit more lockdown mode. Finally, he just threw up his hands and goes, you know what, we're doing the wedding, we're doing it at our house. We're going to do it. We're tired of waiting. We're not going to have a big thing. We're just going to have an intimate wedding with some family members. But the point is, it's just like Frank Holmes back in the day. The first time we interviewed Frank Holmes and we were talking about gold, he talked about the love trade. Well, I'd never heard about the love trade, but there's a big demographic in India, and one of the traditions there is they give gold. That's part of their wedding tradition. And when you've got billions of people that are steeped in a culture, and there's this thing that they do in their culture that's traditional, they don't really care what the price is. They don't really care what's going on. When the moment comes, you pay. And I think some of that translates. You know, people are still people. They fall in love. They want to get married. They want to celebrate. They want to get together. Yes, it may cost more, or there may be some uphill challenges. I'm going to go through some uphill challenges to travel into California to go to this wedding this summer, but I'm going to do it because it's family and that's what you do. And so there are some things that remain stable underneath all of the instability of what's going on. And when you can capture those things, like in distribution, products still have to move, people still have to eat, things need to be, supplied in order to keep people surviving. I always say that when you're in a chaotic economic environment, you have to focus on the things that are real and essential. And when you think about leisure, you think, oh, well, that's not real and it's not essential. And yet you underestimate the need for human beings to recreate, to recreate, to refresh themselves, to get away. And they've all been on lockdown. Talk about pent up demand. I mean, when this thing finally opens up, it's going to be ridiculous. But the fact is there's niches that are booming right now in spite of what's going on. Just think how good that's going to be when that opens up. So when you focus on understanding human nature and applying that to your economic model, you get a better picture because humans always seem to surprise you in some way, extremely resilient.
So where are we seeing the uptick in travel? We're going to talk about that, and we've got a great guest next. You're tuned to the Real Estate Guys radio program. I'm your host, Robert Helms.
Real estate investment advice right in your mailbox. Sign up for the free Real Estate Guys newsletter at realestateguysradio.com.
If you love real estate and have always wanted to own your own business, listen up. The Real Estate Guys and their panel of experts want to teach you how to go full-time fast in the real estate syndication business. These next few years may go down in history as one of the best times ever to acquire investment real estate. There are deals everywhere if you know where to look and how to assemble the resources. The Secrets of Successful Syndication seminar will show you how to make big money doing big deals from a team of experts that have syndicated projects totaling more than $1 billion. Don't wait for someone to give you a raise. expertise or create a job for you. Attend the Secrets of Successful Syndication and learn how to build a team, raise capital, find deals, and make full-time money in 6 months or less. Go to realestateguysradio.com and click on events. All the big players use syndication as a way to diversify risk, optimize profits, and earn big money. You can too. Go to realestateguysradio.com and click on events.
For thousands of years of human history, silver has been recognized as money. Then in 1965, the United States took silver out of the financial system. But did silver stop being money? Smart investors don't think so. And ever since, when there are concerns about the quality of the currency, alert investors seek shelter in silver and gold. As the size and frequency of major financial crises grow, silver is attracting a lot of attention. To help better understand the what, why, and how of silver, watch the free 9-part series, Making Sense of Silver. Everything you always wanted to know about silver but didn't know to ask. Featuring 30-year precious metals veteran Dana Samuelson. Send your email requests to silverseries@realestateguysradio.com. Whether you own silver now or you're wondering if it's too late, email silverseries@realestateguysradio.com.
Hi, I'm Mark Victor Hans. You're listening to The Real Estate Guys. If you want to expand your consciousness, expand your wealth, expand your future, and have more delight and excite in your future than in your past, keep listening to The Real Estate Guys.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Guys radio program, heard every weekend on this great radio station, all the time at realestateguysradio.com and all your favorite podcast outlets. This is episode number 2 of our 3-part series, our Hospitality Spotlight. Hospitality is an interesting niche within real estate. Let's meet a gentleman who's been in that niche in various forms and formats for more than 20 years. Welcome back to the Real Estate Guys radio program, Mr. Josh McCallen. Hey, Josh.
Hey, wow. Waiting in the green room to see you two guys is like, I feel like I'm meeting Bon Jovi or something. This is great to be on your show again. It's been 2 years since our last episode. Thank you for having me back.
Well, and it has been, and that's too long, but also it's been an interesting 2 years, right?
Man.
A lot has happened, and so you've been very involved in hospitality, and I think because it's been a couple of years, give us a little bit of background. Before you got into exactly what you're doing now, you have been in the hospitality business a long time. Paint us the picture there, Josh.
I liked your intro about 20 years. I would say you're right, except for it might even be 30. So about 30 years ago, I was a busboy dishwasher guy, and I have to admit, probably like you two guys, because I know your hearts, it actually kind of resonated. I kind of liked it, the energy and the joy of serving. Fast forward, I go to take that sidestep and do the whole academic world, right? I get the master's degree in business and all that kind of great stuff. So I don't get back to hospitality until we land in Europe about 20 years ago when we're running a European magical place. It's in the outside of Salzburg, Austria. It was a village hotel that was really once a monastery. And that just kind of, I did it for universities, but I just kind of got the bug going. Fast forward to 06, 07, I become part of a family office, and I'm their project manager building spec flips at the highest end of the market, which taught me a lot because we were flipping to the celebrities for $5 million beach houses, to the New Yorkers and all that. So I learned construction detailing. And then after all that craziness of 08, we climbed back into hospitality through a failed condo venture. So that same family office that I was privileged to work for had purchased a hotel to tear down and build condos in 05. That the paperwork takes years, as you guys know, as developers. And guess when they were allowed to do it? 2008.
Nice.
So in 2008, they said, time out. We're keeping the Fleabag motel condo. Forget the condos. It's a hotel. And in 2012, we wrote together a masterful business plan of trying to do the Michael Gerber stuff of create a franchise prototype where you say, what if we bought all of the Northeastern seaboard dumpy hotels on the water? And guess what? They're around the most affluent people, and they're there. They just sit there like eyesores. Even in the Hamptons, you and I we've always grown up knowing the Hamptons is the richest of the rich New Yorkers. And even there's dumpy motels that you would be shocked. So we said, what if we could buy these up from Martha's Vineyard down to all the way down to Florida even, and just slowly but surely become the prototype of restored hotels for the modern day traveler. Fast forward, that didn't work because we thought hospitality was about construction, like we thought flips were about construction, and it isn't. And as you and I know, who are in the world of hospitality development, it is a robust business. It is buildings, and yes, they need to be pretty. But fast forward, we ended up developing a really passion-focused hospitality management division. And from that, we ended up becoming noticed by even TripAdvisor. We ranked in the top 25 American hotels, beat 55,000 competitors to get that national ranking. Wall Street Journal picked us up, and boom, we were off to the races. And we did that with little nondescript waterfront hotels in New Jersey, 3 of them. Simultaneously, I had a chance to meet a guy named Dave Zook. Hello. That's the pivotal moment when he introduced me to you guys. And I learned that my operational expertise could also be around syndication, which you guys also taught me about through Secrets of Successful Syndication. And therein lies the major pivot in my life, where we went from being a strong operator, president of a 500-person hospitality company, recognized nationally, to being able to join you guys and learn. And that's when my lovely wife, Melanie, joined us, learned how to set up a group called Accountable Equity and raise money to do this for everybody. And that's the beauty of syndication, which we could talk about later. But my wife gives a whole talk about that. Was so transformative, Secrets of Success, because there was a speech both of you give where you say it's not about being rich as a syndicator. It's about the people's money you're investing, and it's for them. It's a investor-focused, no BS, no flash in the pan, all real type of support of investors. And that allowed Melanie and I now to create a portfolio of properties. And so we have 2 that are record breaking on a pace that you guys will love hearing about. And we have 3 under agreement right now. So probably by Christmas, we'll have 5 resorts. And that's 2 years since meeting you guys. So thank you for that.
That is very exciting. And of course, you're speaking out of our songbook, talking about raising money to do deals. And from the investor side, it's got to make sense, but also from the project side. And so this is definitely a niche. When we last talked on the show, you guys had just acquired this unbelievably beautiful winery property that had done and now is continuing to do a lot of weddings. And then COVID struck. So take us back to there. I remember being excited for you guys about this incredible property, just the pictures you showed us, and it had a lot of legacy and history and story. And then all of a sudden COVID hit, but bring us up to speed.
Yeah. So thanks for that. Yeah, absolutely. Those first year when we do these projects, think about a major repositioning, like a major house flip. It takes that little bit of time to get your legs under you, do the renovations. What's magical about what we did was we sold weddings simultaneously while construction was happening. And that's when we met you guys in person on your show. We were showing you pictures of our renovations, and they were beautiful. And we were telling you about how we had already sold whatever number of weddings, and we were selling with pictures,
right?
Because a wedding is 18 months out. What a magical thing we kind of stumbled into. We're starting to receive 25% cash deposits. By the time we met you, we had a very large balance sheet of cash. Yes, it's a future deposit, but it was in our hands. And so there goes the next story. By Corona, the COVID starts, we had already sold 240 approximately weddings.
Wow.
So about a year after we were with you guys, Corona starts, we're sitting here going, wow, we're going to have an explosive year in 2020. We had, I think, over almost 300 weddings booked. Most of those weddings were to be performed. So it's just over 200. Just over 200 weddings were supposed to be performed at that point. We're ready. We're done. We're beautiful. Corona shuts it down. Hard shuts it down. As you guys know, we lock the doors. Golf is kicking butt. We have a golf course. So we're like, wow, golf is going to make it through Corona. And then 4 weeks later, they say golf's illegal too. And we're like, but wait, you guys said to go outside. Okay, whatever. So they shut golf down a month after they shut the restaurants down. And here we are sitting on our thumbs. And I would tell you the surprise to all of us was we were legally, as a hotel, we were legally allowed to keep the bedrooms open and the sales office open. We just weren't allowed to perform events and dinners. So we kept selling. And what was magical was we started getting more leads every week. We sold 400 weddings during the months of the Corona lockdown till Christmas. So we opened back up at some point, but that just changed our entire focus. Remember, we're not in the hotel business just for weddings. It's just one of our many revenue streams. But boy, it's resilient.
Well, and your property's big enough you can do more than one at the same time.
Yeah, thanks for checking the math. You're absolutely right. forgive me if you're listening, you think we have a little cute little hotel with a little ballroom. We don't. We have 120,000 square feet of hospitality space, including 4 mega ballrooms, all of them unique. One's a tent in the gardens of the vines. One's a awesome 150-year-old manufacturing plant turned into a ballroom. You'd love it. And then one is this thing that's 2 stories with a roof deck looking out over vines. And we have 5 restaurant kitchens. So that, yeah, good point. The scale of this property is hard to fathom. And I'm here every day. So it is a scale that you probably haven't seen before. It's quite large.
Well, and that brings up another point, which is you found a way to pivot during the lockdown. A lot of hospitality operators were panicked, and we've talked about, the traditional business travel changing so much. But you had this demand, and even though people, they plan their weddings not a month before usually, it's several years before sometimes, and so still excited about having the wedding, still excited about having it there, and now you're coming out of the dive, and you recognize another interesting point, which is where the people are coming from. Can you speak to that part of it?
Yes, that's the thing that you said, the niche inside the niche inside the niche. We like to position, and this has become a prototype. If you're listening and you're in this industry, feel free to borrow this. But we develop leisure travel within a drive to of about an hour and a half to 2 hours from mega metropolis or economic centers. So we're very close to Washington. In this property, we're close to Philadelphia, and we're almost equidistant to New York City. So we're in the state of New Jersey. And if you haven't been here before, you may not realize just how close all these cities are on the eastern side of the country. And we're actually not that far from DC, though we don't draw from DC at this property where I'm sitting today. But if you drew a circle around us, you'd be shocked to see that we're closer to a Manhattan Bride than the Hamptons vineyards are. They tend to look at both sides of the island, if you think of it that way.
Well, this is such a good point because even pre-coronavirus, people love to have a place they could go for a weekend getaway. I don't want to go to JFK and sit through security and get on an airplane and maybe there's turbulence and all that. Why not just drive an hour, 2 hours, maybe 3 hours from home, spend a couple of nights? And you guys have already been the beneficiary of that as a hotel back in the day, golf outings and obviously weddings, but also just leisure travel. Now you fast forward through the lockdown and the pandemic, and this becomes really interesting because now folks either can't or don't want to get on an airplane, but they would probably get in their car with their family unit and drive a couple of hours to be able to get some fresh air and maybe have some good wine.
Great wine. Hello. Did you say good wine? Great wine. By the way, we have that amazing story, right? Where the champagne legally allowed to call our sparkling wine champagne because Louis came from Renault. Louis Renault came from Champagne, France. The answer you're getting to is I get excited, and I know you guys know that about me, but I get excited that our investors are really experiencing something that it gives them all. If you contact any of our investors, they'll tell you they come visit our property. They see how busy we are every weekend. They see the wedding sales are off the charts. And this experience of the drive to, which we always put in our profiles. We always said, hey, look, we're the antidote to getting on an airplane. We talked about that 5, 6, 7 years ago when I was doing it, and how strong of an importance that is when you're near mega wealthy centers like Philadelphia and New York, that they're willing to pay us $700 a night, sometimes $400 on an average. Well, it's because they don't have to get on a plane. They need luxury. We give it. But now you've been on 12 flights, you said. I've been on 4. And boy, are they a little bit more painful. If you guys have not been traveling yet in the airplanes, if you're listening to this, because you're a driver like me, I listen to this show when I drive, you'd be a little surprised. Not only was it hard to get through TSA before, and that was always frustrating, but now the stewardesses, and God bless them, they're a little bit harsh on the airplane. They're kind of like mask up over the bridge of your nose. They're like a little bit more difficult. So everything got a little more difficult. Sorry to say, guys. So boy, drive to is starting to look like a genius strategy, and we're the beneficiary.
Well, and just the other part of it, which of course is in that area of the country, and this is true in a lot of places, there are these properties that were built 20, 25, 35 years ago that at the time were maybe the lap of luxury, but today maybe need some help. Either that, or because of Corona, they've fallen off the map completely.
Oh, yes.
There's estimates, depending on who you listen to, that fully 25 to 40% of all hotels and motels won't make the turn, which means there's going to be more demand for the ones that are left standing.
Well, that's a great point. I'll give you one true story that happened. Not only are we doing weddings, as I've said to you guys before, one of the other great things of going to Secrets to Success is we talked a lot about how we don't going to get into all the math now, but we all now know how commercial real estate changes in value based on the NOI and the profit it's producing.
Yep.
Well, how do you produce profit? You create profitable revenue streams. And at multifamily, you get the privilege of doing the rooms and slightly increasing rates. Not at hotels. We get to sell what? We're going to sell $10 million worth of weddings, just the wedding dinner this year. So add on top of that millions of dollars of rooms, and then add on top of that bar revenue from their after parties. So we're growing at far greater than 100% annual revenue growth because we haven't hit stabilization yet. Well, during Corona, we pivoted everything outside for restaurants. This is something that we saw happen. And very few restaurants were kind of opening up, or maybe they had a sidewalk you could put a chair on. So our outdoor restaurant, which had scale, was 5 acres of outdoor tables. And we started metamorphosizing every weekend. We're like, wow, hundreds of people are coming, hundreds more. So we grew the complex. By the time the fall had gotten cold in the Northeast, Melanie and I and everybody got a little anxious because, the temperature shifted. It's the Northeast, for God's sake. And we came up with this dream of our European village dream. You guys have probably seen movies where in Europe, they go outside in the cold winter and they do winter markets and winter festivals. So we look European here. So we just did it. We went all in with an ice rink. We hired NHL people to help us build an ice rink. They just happen to be NHL people, ironically. And then we built a village. We built like huts. We brought in artisans and we did fire. The primordial bug attractor and guest attractor is fire. We had like 25, 30 fire pits around, and boy, was it magical. Without telling the COVID police, we were hitting 4,000 guests a week to come to this. Out of the blue, out of Melanie's heart and her dream that we implement something that was always on our wish list. That got us on the Wall Street Journal December 31st. It got us in all the morning shows regionally. We were on all the time. We had to hire ice skaters to skate at 7 a.m. for the morning show and tell them, come on, we'll pay you. And we're paying our busboys. Come ice skate. So when they do the morning show, there's somebody on the ice. It looked so magical, guys. PBS even did a freaking special on it. So that pivot transformed the whole company. And it allowed us to realize, wow, with this kind of new world order, we're not going to cry about it, right? You and I, we learn not to cry about inflation. We learn to follow the trends. We learn from clues in the news all the time. We're avid readers of your articles and your shows. And so we said, well, if COVID has created this lasting weirdness, in this, I don't want to say it that way, but like odd reality where even people who are healthy are anxious, why not just kind of embrace the outdoor? And so we then pivoted and made the outdoor experience year round. So we went through Corona winter doing revenues higher than this place had ever done in the summer, month after month after month. And so it completely transforms our company. So to the point where now, just to pivot, what we've done is become an acquirer. And I want to let you ask the question, but I want to seed the question. The economics are very interesting right now because the news, as you alluded to in the preview, is hospitality is distressed. Hospitality, 20% is going out of business. Hospitality, guess what? As Daniel DiMartino Booth mentioned, there's 2 hospitalities, but they're all being painted with the same brush. So can we cry about that? Maybe. Or do we buy? Do we Warren Buffett this thing? And we buy when everyone's saying they got to get out and their grandparents. Remember, we're typically buyers of a family's legacy asset that they're tired of running. And coronavirus helped make everybody 10 times more tired of running it. So we're an acquirer right now.
Our guest is Josh McCallen. We're talking about hospitality and specifically some ways to think creatively and turn this thing on its head. He's got more ideas, as you can imagine, when we come back. Plus, we'll play real estate trivia next. You're tuned to the Real Estate Guys radio program. I'm your host, Robert Helms.
Live nationwide, you're listening to the Real Estate Guys. Find out more at realestateguysradio.com.
In uncertain times like this, it's great to know there are 2 things you can always count on. High demand for affordable single-family homes to live in, and Terry Kerr's amazing Memphis team at Mid-South Home Buyers to find, fix, and manage the next addition to your recession-resistant real estate portfolio. The Memphis market is logistics and distribution dynamo with an economic engine that's essential to moving goods and critical supplies all over the United States. quality rehab, proven profitable property management, affordable rents, and solid ROI make turnkey property investing through Terry's team a dream when it matters most. To learn more about Memphis and Mid-South home buyers, send an email to midsouth@realestateguysradio.com. That's midsouth@realestateguysradio.com.
Hey, ever wished you could go back in time and do some tax planning? Now you can, just like Marty McFly. Lucky for you, a brand new federal law just made this possible with an EQRP to get tax deductions and reduce your taxable income from last year, so you can use that tax savings to invest in real estate, Bitcoin, gold, even your own business. Whether you're a full-time investor, doctor, government employee, even if you have 5 or 50 employees, the EQRP works and is your secret weapon, and now it's retroactive. Hey, I'm Damian Lupo, and we have your solution. By the way, if you got bad advice and used an IRA for an apartment syndication, you are sitting on a U-bit time bomb. But don't worry, there's a solution, the EQRP. The EQRP company is ready to help you get control of your money, kill U-bit, and help you pay way less taxes. Want to learn more about this strategy? Send an email to eqrp@realestateguysradio.com for my special EQRP report. Paying tax or letting Wall Street suck you dry is dumb. Your first step is freeing your retirement money by sending an email to eqrp@realestateguysradio.com today.
Hello, this is Robert Kiyosaki. I'm the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And if you're serious about learning how to invest in real estate, listen to the Real Estate Guys. They really know what they're talking about.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Guys radio program. Thanks so much for tuning into the show. We're glad you tuned in today. Tell a friend about the Real Estate Guys. It's episode 2 of our 3-part series, Spotlight on Hospitality. Before we get back to our interview with Josh McCallen, it's time to play real estate trivia. That's your chance to win a prize. By knowing today's real estate trivia question, it's going to have something to do kind of with the topic we're discussing. And the prize is an awesome compilation book of amazing stories called Don't Quit, Stories of Persistence, Courage, and Faith. In fact, Josh McCallen has a chapter in this book. As soon as you hear the question and think you know the answer, send your best guess to trivia@realestateguysradio.com. Trivia@realestateguysradio.com. We'll need your name, your guess, and your mailing address, because if you're the winner, we'll send you this awesome book. Last week on the Real Estate Guys, it was episode 1 of our Spotlight on Hospitality with Tim Hubbard. We asked this: for the year 2020, which airport had the most passengers? Well, we all know air travel was down in 2020, but the number 1 airport was the Guangzhou Baiyun International Airport in China, with the total passenger count of 43,760,000 folks. Here's our real estate trivia question for this week. One of the many amenities of the amazing property that Josh and his wife Melanie manage is their golf course, and he spoke about that. Here's what I want to know. Where is the longest golf course in the U.S.? Yeah, I mean, there has to be one, right? The longest golf course. Where is that? If you know, or you just want to take a guess, then send your best guess to trivia@realestateguysradio.com. Trivia@realestateguysradio.com. Be sure to include your name, the answer to the question, and your mailing address, because if you're the first person that gets it right, you're going to get this awesome book, Don't Quit, Stories of Persistence, Courage, and Faith. That's today's real estate trivia question. It is lesson number 2 of 3 when it comes to hospitality. We're doing a mini series here on the Real Estate Guys. Our guest today is Josh McCallen with Accountable Equity. And Josh, very excited to hear some of the ways that you guys have turned the statistics on their heads. And with Wall Street Journal article notwithstanding, before the break, we were talking about the fact that a lot of the media is portraying all hospitality with one broad brush, and it's not like that. It's a very niche business, just like every real estate asset class has its own unique permutations. Now you've seen the results of changing the thinking, approaching it from not a problem but a solution side, which I love. And let's talk about where you're headed. You've got a great model, but every property is unique. Every property is different. What does the future hold for you guys?
Well, I'm excited to say maybe by the time this airs, we'll be pretty close to closing on 3 properties. Sometime in the next few months, we'll close on them. It is a complicated time to buy. I mentioned before the break that we're getting the price as if all hospitality is depressed.
Right.
But we're buying the assets that have strong leading indicators that they're coming back. We're paying the right price, the price you and I as investors want to pay. Here's the challenge in our world right now is this is where us sponsors earn our work, earn our living. we're working hard to find the finance
Right.
side, because as a sector gets destroyed on the Wall Street Journal or anybody, the finance sector disappears. As Russ will tell you, when money comes in, prices go up. So we're at this cool equilibrium where we're buying at the right price, the price that is well below building the building, which I always say, just think about that, right? We're buying below buying the building. Forget the dirt. We're not even paying for the dirt. We're not even paying for the building, for God's sake. And we're taking something that's on a trajectory going up with COVID almost behind its wind. And that is leisure drive-to is got a wind behind it. So anyway, we're looking at things. Here's how our mind is working. As long as we're within a drive-to of a mega metropolis, and we know it can do a gorgeous avant-garde wedding. Remember, you and I cannot go out and buy a convention center and try to make weddings happen there.
Right.
They will not happen. I actually have looked at one, and they get no wedding leads, and they're on the water, but they're a convention center, meaning a square box with drop ceiling.
Who wants to get married at a convention
Nobody.
center? Come on.
You can't give it away, apparently. So we don't buy those. We buy things that are eclectic and are, like, honestly, Instagram worthy. I know that's cliche, but it's 100% true in wedding industry, as you would imagine. That's why so much of our team is oriented around incredible design. But back to the investment, and what we're saying to ourselves is, if we acquire this, will the metropolis be able to give us the 30 to 45-year-old person who's getting married forever? And guess where we're going? Right where you'd think we're going, to the center of District 1, Washington, D.C. It's right here where so many people can get to. The wedding business there is thriving. So we're buying around the headquarters of the American government. We're buying in the mountains of the Shenandoah. We're buying a property that Eleanor Roosevelt used to use when she was creating with her husband the Parks Division for the federal government. We're buying that hotel, which we'll tell you about some other time when we have it under ownership. And then we're buying things on the Eastern Shore, which is quote unquote the Hamptons of DC. So you drive past Annapolis, and we're buying pretty much everything we can past Annapolis and Annapolis. We've looked at several properties there because these things are perennial wealth builders, and we're buying them below rebuilding them. You can see the math is starting to work in our favor. And then we're immediately cash flowing. And boy, did I learn a lesson about cash versus profits. In the pandemic, there wasn't even a restaurant open for several months. There wasn't ability to have a P&L. There was it was as if a freeze button was hit, right? But we were collecting hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash. And it was going into our bank account for our investors. That's called cash flow business. So we were bringing in cash flow even when we weren't open. And so what we've learned is to make sure that we model that correctly. So as we go into these properties, we're going to have cash, really strong balance sheets, just a month to 2 months after we acquire, even though that's cash for a year from now. So we're pretty aggressive. And then the rest of the places we're going next will be the Dallas metropolitan area, including down to Austin and Waco, that area, that big area. And then eventually we'll get to the Tampa market as well. We've tried to look at other markets, but those feel like the first mega home runs for us as we follow the trends.
Well, this makes total sense from a market perspective, being close to the places where wealthy people are and they're willing to drive a bit to have that out in the country experience. So totally get that. But I think the listeners also need to understand that there's a component here that you bring that's difficult to replicate. The core of hospitality is operations.
Yes.
It's great to get a great piece of property, but just like I need an awesome property manager for my single family rental home, in order to manage not just a hotel, but the event business, this takes a certain amount of expertise.
It does. And in a way, that's our Warren Buffett moat a little bit. It is harder for you to jump on this gravy train and join hospitality if you have not done hospitality. And that's one of the gifts that we were given by being an operator first before we learned how to sponsor deals ourselves. And an operator partner, I was a small partner in those big deals. So not only was I the head of operations, I was also a small equity piece. So I started watching how the cap rate thing exploded our wealth position. So now we bring that to the table here. And it is true. And we love disclosing in our PPMs. We always say we're vertically integrated, guys. We've built this group that owns the buildings, the accountable equity, and then we've built the hospitality division out of our heart and our passion. My wife and some incredible partners. We have a lot of staff now have built Viva May, which stands for Reviving the Soul. I used to think was important. Now I realize is absolutely paramount to have a rich culture on top of great service, rich culture for the team. Because you guys have been reading, today's Wall Street Journal said that there's more jobs posted now than ever and less being filled than ever. right? And I'm paraphrasing. So there's clearly people don't want to work right now. So the only thing that's drawing them into our company, where we've hired over 250 people in the last 12 months, is culture. Is, do I feel joy when I work here? Do I enjoy the service component? And is it successful? And so all of those components are working in our favor. And then crazy thing we've done is joint venture to build the buildings too. So vertical integration to me is an incredible, shocking privilege and leverage we have in our business.
Well, you mentioned something I think is so critical for people to understand. If I just want to get a portfolio of strip centers and make money from that, okay. But if I really want to make a dent in the world, I've got to be following my heart. I've got to have passion for it, right? And culture grows out of that. Just watching the way that you and your wife work together and how this really matters to you, independent of the money you're making for your investors. I know you have a heart for that too, but having something you're passionate about. I think this is a great lesson for anyone listening to the show. If you're this far thinking, well, I don't think this really applies to me, get the lesson behind the lesson, which is when you're passionate about something and you can figure out how to wake up in the morning and go solve a problem that somebody else has and make it a win for them, like having a masterful wedding at a place that is Instagram spectacular, right? You're changing lives that way, and people pay a premium for that. And because of that, you have a waiting list, and you're going to be massively profitable.
Yeah, no, hospitality is just simply serving people and treating them like with the infinite dignity they deserve. It's that simple. So as long as we're doing that, boy, that sets Melanie and I on fire. Of course, we love beautiful design. We love that our pictures of our properties that we've dreamed up are everywhere, all over the internet. But it does matter more that look, a little anecdote. We've been hiring people that are been displaced. What a shocking surprise this is. They were displaced from Walt Disney. We hired the site designer for our resorts are getting pretty expansive, and they all have upside land development potential being in these metropolises areas. So we hired a site designer so that we'd have this organic, rich feeling from Walt Disney World. And he'd been in 20 years. He even did some rides for and experiences for other properties. But he was available because for some reason during the pandemic, everybody just shut these people off because they were part of the rebuild or the build out of these properties. So that kind of came first in the layoffs for some reason. Obviously, there's an obvious reason, but it's as if people were giving up on the world, right? They also laid off these people from major hospitality brands that were the developers that were more on the business side of developing hotels, not necessarily design. And we hired one of those executive vice presidents from the big brands. So we got like this powerful team that all had heard about the vision, really were more interested in the culture and the dream than whether we could compete exactly on offer. And boy, they're strong leaders. And that's the other thing that the secrets of successful syndication taught me was the team matters. You actually gave a talk, Robert, about, is it expensive to hire the best architect in the world like you did for your resorts? It actually got you so much notoriety and the best design. Perhaps it was cheaper than hiring the person that wouldn't have done a good job.
Well, and layer on that the fact that post-COVID, these people are available that wouldn't be. That's awesome. It's another shortcut to build culture. Bring people that have these varied and vast experiences, and that just builds the team and gives you more nuances, certainly. And because not every property that you guys are going to be doing is going to be cookie cutter. They're all unique. They're all different, which means you have to approach that. And of course, we've got a lot more we could talk about, but you've been kind enough to put together an awesome report called The 7 Reasons Why Hospitality Will Thrive in a Post-COVID World. I know you touch on some of the things we talked today about, but there's some of the good stuff in there too. So before we're done, we'll tell you how you get a copy of Josh's work. What prompted you to write this report, Josh?
You know, I think we've been giving a lot of talks publicly lately, and for me, it became a learned reality. And then when you start reading all the articles and pieces we get from Clues in the News, you start to realize, if you just line up all the facts, which we do in this article, you see the trend moving in our way. By the way, you'll see the Daniel DiMartino booth. The quote that you guys mentioned at the beginning is part of a pivotal moment for me to understand how to explain everything. So we're grateful to be able to share that small ebook with everybody.
That's awesome. All right. Well, you'll be able to get your hands on that before we're done today. You'll also be able to get Josh's contact information, because one of the possibilities is I know that you are always looking for folks to invest passively in these kinds of things. So that's not the purpose of the show. But if that sounds interesting to you and you're a accredited investor, Josh has been to the Secrets of Successful Syndication several times and is now very successful at syndicating. So we love that, my friend.
Yeah, no, it's a passion. Guys, every time we can on our little podcast, we talk about your work. And this has never been asked of me to say this, but what is going on with your organization and how you're empowering the world to see real estate and syndication for I call it the normal person, and the power that it creates for taxes and wealth. It's a passion for Melanie and I, and we feel blessed to be part of your community. So thank you for everything you're doing.
Well, it's great to have you back on the show. Super excited about the news. If you want more information about this sector of hospitality, the report is called 7 Reasons Why Hospitality Will Thrive in a Post-COVID World. We'll tell you how to get that when we come back. Josh, say hi to Melanie for us. Great to have you back on the program.
Thanks, buddy.
This is Josh McCallen from Accountable Equity. More when we come back. You're tuned to the Real Estate Guys radio program. I'm your host, Robert Helms.
Need help with your real estate investment portfolio? Check out the resources page at realestateguysradio.com.
Hey, it's Robert Helms. Thanks so much for listening to the show today. I want to personally invite you to come see an amazing real estate market that combines excellent cash flow, offshore diversification, and what we affectionately call lifestyle investing. Come join me from August 20th to 23rd in the beautiful country of Belize. The Real Estate Guys have been bringing investors to Belize for more than 15 years now, and our discovery trip is designed to show you the market like nobody else can. Sure, Belize is breathtakingly beautiful, the people are wonderful, and wait till you taste the food. But the real opportunity is the real estate investment potential. Demand for offshore real estate has skyrocketed since the coronavirus shutdown, and with retirees looking for lifestyle, the work-from-home workforce able to be productive from afar, and tourism coming back strong, now may be the perfect time to consider Belize as a place to diversify risk in your investment portfolio. There's all types of opportunities in Belize when it comes to real estate investing, including both long and short-term rentals, commercial and retail triple net properties, business opportunities, land acquisition, development, agriculture, and more. As the only country in Latin America with English as its official language, it's easy to understand the law. Property rights are strong, and contracts are written in English. And in Ambergris Caye, a unique situation exists where demand for rentals continues to outstrip supply, creating a compelling environment for investors. So come see for yourself. Join me in August in Ambergris Caye, Belize, as we study the market, learn about the sustainable drivers, and tour lots of beautiful real estate. And like all of our field trips, there are no properties for sale during the weekend. Rather, you'll meet lots of local providers that will help educate you about the market so that you can follow up with them after the trip if the market is interesting to you. You've heard about Belize and the Real Estate Guys for all these years. Now come see what all the excitement is about. Plus, we'll have lots of time over meals and activities to talk about all things real estate. To get the details, go to the website at realestateguysradio.com and click on events where you'll find the Belize Discovery Trip. Once you register, you'll get information about our group hotel rates as well as travel details. So join me in Belize, August 20th to 23rd. It's a beautiful country with lots of amazing possibilities, and the only thing missing is you. Go to realestateguysradio.com under events, and I look forward to seeing you in beautiful Belize.
Hey, it's Kyle Wilson, Jim Run's 18-year business partner, and you're listening to The Real Estate Guys.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Guys radio program. Thanks so much for tuning into the show. Hey, if you've thought about raising money to do bigger deals, then come on out to the Secrets of Successful Syndication. It happens in September in Dallas, Texas. All the details on our website at realestateguysradio.com under events. We're talking hospitality, and oh, what a whirlwind Josh McCallen is.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. We're kind of right near the Father's Day celebration, and I look at all these people that have come through our training and gone on to discover syndication and then develop syndication and have tremendous success through syndication. And well, I'm happy for them because it's great. You can hear the music in his voice. You know, he was working for someone else and he had the skills, but he didn't have the funding and he didn't know how to put it together. He discovered syndication, realized, hey, I can be on the other end of this. That's fantastic. But I think the thing that he gets excited about is what that means to his investors, because not everybody is going to be able to do that, right? You can listen to a story and go, oh, that's great. There's so much opportunity in that sector. But, I mean, if you're working a day job out there running your business and you're going to try and jump in and do that's a whole level. He spent a long time developing the skills to be able to operate a hotel. So a big part of being an investor is investing in good operators. If I'm going to go buy a stock, I'm investing in a management team. That's what Warren Buffett does. He looks for great management teams in great niches, and he lets them run the business and get a return on his capital. And that's really what being a passive investor is all about. And the other part of it is what he's doing for his communities, because he's stepping into these properties that, are in sometimes distress because either owners don't have the creativity, they don't have the operational expertise. No different than a value add when you go find a beat up house where somebody didn't have the money to keep it up, or they had personal problems and couldn't keep it up, or a multifamily where a manager or landlord wasn't able to do a good job. That's a blight on the community. And someone goes in who knows what they're doing and brings a capital and brings it up to speed. They deserved a profit because they're adding something very valuable. So there were a lot of tidbits in there that he shared that I thought were excellent. I don't know how much time we have left in the show to kind of recap that, but Josh is a really smart, astute guy, really expert in his space, and he says a lot of things. Like listening to McElroy, when Kenny talks, he says things out of his experience that you got to really go back and listen and go, okay, I get what he's saying. So I would almost think this is worth listening to over again, just because there were some things between the lines that Josh leaked out there that I think any investor can learn from, but certainly anybody interested in this particular niche.
Totally agree with that. In fact, lots of little gold nuggets. But I think the big picture here is they had a plan, a pretty awesome plan, and a really cool property they came out of the gate with, and then COVID changed everything. But rather than just throw their hands up in the air, they figured out ways to make it work and to stand out from the crowd and to do something other places weren't, and to continue to service one of their main clientele, which were people having weddings. Even though weddings weren't happening, people were planning and booking and thinking about and putting out in the future when they're going to have their wedding, where it's going to be. And that really saved them in so many ways. So lots of great lessons today for sure. If you're interested in getting Josh's report on the 7 reasons why hospitality will thrive in a post-COVID world, just send an email to thrive@realestateguysradio.com. Thrive, Thrive, thrive at realestateguysradio.com. You'll get that report. It's got a lot more detail than we're able to get into today, and he makes some really compelling arguments for that near drive-by as well, which could be a great little niche independent of restaurants and wineries and weddings. So you'll get some value out of that. Just send an email to thrive@realestateguysradio.com. Big thanks to Josh McCallen for sharing his time and energy and enthusiasm today. Next week, it's part 3 of our Hospitality Spotlight series. We'll talk about broadening the market by considering international hospitality next week. Until then, go out and make some equity happen.
This episode of the Real Estate Guys radio show is brought to you by Paradigm Life. Powerful cash management strategies using life insurance. Learn more at beyourbank.com. Mid-South Home Buyers. Low-cost, turnkey cash flow properties in Memphis, Tennessee. Corporate Direct. Asset protection strategies for real estate investors from attorney and Rich Dad advisor Garrett Sutton. Find these and other great companies under the Resources tab at realestateguysradio.com. To learn how you can expose your product or service to the Real Estate Guys audience, call 888-489-7723 extension 4. That's 888-489-7723 extension 4. Or use the feedback page at realestateguysradio.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week right here on the Real Estate Guys radio show.